Last time out in the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship at Cadwell Park, John Stone and Jack Morton's day came to an end with an early spin during stage one, while Chris West and Keith Hounslow continued to press for back-to-back championship titles. The fans who packed the circuit were treated to some of the greatest action throughout the day, including a first ever event at the circuit for Le Mans winner Guy Smith, who pushed hard for the win all day long, taking the trophy right to the death. Who will be victorious this time out?
Good morning and welcome to a glorious day up in Scotland for round 3 of the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship. We have 10 action-packed stages organised by the Dunfermline Car Club. We have a bonfire. It is going to be a gorgeous day. Let's get straight out and see what's going on.
Thanks, Sam. And you're right, what a beautiful winter's morning it is. Chris West and Keith Hounslow are still on the hunt for a second consecutive championship. Much like at Cadwell Park, Chris has been told to take it easy and collect the points, but that's easier said than done. We've got a number of guest entries from north of the border, which will keep the championship competitors on their toes. Let's have a look at some of the entries, starting with Class A. The Rover Metro GTI of Inez Mockery and also Kirsty Mockery. That'll be a classic car to watch. The Ford KA, the bright orange Ford KA of Ron Walker and Amy McGubbin also. Class B entries, Paul Sheard and Bruce Lindsay in the Mazda MX-5. They're always fun to watch. Also look out for Graham Sherry and Shannon Turnbull in the Honda Civic. In Class C, look out for that Talbot Sunbeam Lotus of Kathy Stewart and Colin Stevens. It's a real classic of a car. Ryan Connolly in the Ford Puma, always spectacular. Class D1, the Peugeot 306 Maxi kit car of the champions Chris West and Keith Hounslow. Look out for that. Also, Andrew Kirkcaldy and Peter Carstairs in the Ford Escort Mark II. Alan Kirkcaldy and Cameron Fair in that Ford Fiesta R5. Definitely one to watch out for. Donnie McDonald and Sam Smith in the Mitsubishi Evo 9. Also, look out for them. Stages 1 and 2 start the day off with 2 blasts around this fantastic Knockhill circuit before heading off onto the tight, twisty and slippery hillside section. It's damp, it's icy, and it'll be a real challenge for everybody involved. I cannot wait for this rally to get started. Number 1 seeds Chris West and Keith Hounslow get us underway and are quickly on the pace. No sign of Chris taking it easy, as we were told in the paddock. A big slide for Chris on the hillside and plenty of the curb as he pushes on. That car looking absolutely pinned around this rally stage. A noisy start for Alan Kirkcaldy and Cameron Fair in their Ford Fiesta R5, who we ride on board with into the morning sun. The pair would be looking to challenge for the victory today, but a slight mishap on this opening stage brought a premature end to their rally. The pair would carry on, but the damage to the radiator would ultimately end their day after just one stage. Absolute heartbreak. You can see the steam pouring off the car on our trackside camera here. Nightmare. John Marshall and Scott Crawford were quickly on the pace, second after the opening stage and just 2 seconds off the lead. Andrew Kirkcaldy, brother of Alan, was also taking part alongside Peter Carstairs. 7th overall after the first stage and 2nd in Class D1 behind Chris West and Keith Hounslow. Making the early pace and topping the times would be Donnie McDonald and Sam Smith in their Mitsubishi Evo 9. They'd finished the first stage 2 seconds faster than John Marshall to take an early lead in the D2 class and the rally overall. Taylor Gibb also got off to a solid start in his Mitsubishi, going 4th fastest in class to set him up for a good day out. Class C runner and MSN Circuit Rally Championship entrant Kathy Stewart is one of our onboard camera cars for this event, and also invested in a Scottish-themed duck, which takes pride of place on the dash. Let's hope it brings them luck, eh? Barry Morris was very eager to get stage 1 going and was really pushing it out on the stage. As was Stephen Hay in his Vauxhall Corsa, seen here pushing the Escort Mark II of Kyle Adam. Good lad. Woo-hoo. As stage 2 kicks off, it's Chris West who's straight down to business in the 306 Maxi kit car, giving it the full beans. He'd set the fastest D1 time to extend his lead over rival Andrew Kirkcaldy to 31 seconds. John Marshall was also furiously working the wheel as he hunts down early class leader Donnie McDonald. He'd finished the stage with a time of 5 minutes 40 seconds, 1 second slower than the Mitsubishi driver. The Subaru looking absolutely hooked up here at Knockhill. Donnie got the stage off to a smoky start with a lock-up into turn 1, but he didn't look back after that to set a time quick enough to eclipse his nearest rival, despite settling an argument with a signpost. Donnie 1, signpost 0. Andrew Kirkcaldy was now getting to grips with his Ford Escort as he consolidated second place in Class D1 behind Chris West. Not scared of it at all. Going on board with the Mazda MX-5 of Steve Dolman, we can see how difficult it is with the low winter sun. The Ford Fiesta of Richard Wells found its form on stage 2, setting the fastest time in Class C, taking over the lead from Joe McKeand after his retirement due to a bust radiator on stage 1. Picking up where he left off on stage 1, Steve Hay was once again chasing Kyle Adam around. He was marginally slower over the stage than rival James Leckie, but maintained his lead in class. It's amazing to see a Rover Metro out rallying, especially as I thought they'd all rusted, but Ines and Kirsty Mockery have done a brilliant job and are really giving it some out on that stage. They'd finished the stage 3rd in Class A. Ron Walker would get faster stage time, but Craig Aston hangs on to the lead of the class with 2nd fastest time.
So it's never a good sight when the whole of the exhaust is not attached to the car. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've had problems with the centre diff. We're out in the first stage. and the car was running perfectly well. Halfway through the first stage, it started to get a noise from the diff. I thought it was a rear diff to start with, but we went into the second one and it just got really worse. But as we went through the second one, diagnosed it as a centre diff that was a problem. So there was nothing obviously we can do with that, because obviously the gearbox out, we haven't got a spare. So so that's unfortunately our day over.
So this is how Class A looks after results are in from Stage 2, and it's Craig Aston eking out a 2-second lead over the Ford KA of Ron Walker. Stephen Hay and Scott Smith, last seen hustling that Vauxhall Corsa around the stage, lead Class B by 1 second over the Peugeot of James Leckie, so it's all to play for there. In Class C, Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth take an early lead in their Ford Fiesta, but I've got a feeling the Peugeot 205 of Ross Hunter could be a thorn in their side over the course of the day. They lie second, 8 seconds behind. Chris West leads D1 by 13 seconds from Andrew Kirkcaldy, the circuit racer putting in 2 good stages to hold second in the class ahead of Tom Blackwood in a similar Ford Escort Mark II. Donnie McDonald takes an early lead in the D2 class ahead of the Subaru of John Marshall, who's just 3 seconds behind. But we've lost that Mini Cooper of Nigel Feeney and Andrew Kirkcaldy's brother Alan in the Fiesta R5. Stages 3 and 4 are 4 miles in length, 2 laps of the circuit before traversing the tricky and twisty off-road section up the hillside. It will be so difficult. Leading the way both overall and in Class D2 are Donnie McDonald and Sam Smith in their Mitsubishi Evo 9. The duo might not be contesting the championship, but are pushing hard to win on home soil, sliding the machine around to a 4-second advantage to top the times. In second place, John Marshall and Scott Crawford are pressing on, and luckily this moment produced only cosmetic damage, as we can see here, meaning the pair dropped just 1 second to McDonald and Smith back on board. And it just shows how rough and bumpy the off-road sections are. Next up are Scott's Alan Smith and Craig McIver hustling their Mitsubishi Evo around just 2 seconds off the ultimate pace. Fourth in Class D2 and similarly quick was youngster Taylor Gibb, driving alongside Jane Nicol in the Evo 9, usually rallied by Taylor's dad James, who's in the D1 class this weekend. Blasting off the circuit are Brian Watson and Sean Donnelly, 5th in D2 and 6th overall in the Subaru Impreza S11 WRC, which chatters away as they climb up the hillside. A little nudge at the tyre stack won't slow Ross down, and Andrew Blackwood in that car. Careful though, lads, the Subaru fish sailing as they put the power down. A nice sideways slide as well for the camera, thanks lads. Getting the angle of the corner slightly wrong after the tyres had been moved as Stuart and Mark Irvine in the very distinctive Evo 7. They wouldn't be the only ones though to struggle around there, as they also clip another tyre for good measure. Taking it nice and easy as they come off the circuit and rounding off the D2 runners are Neil Phillip and John McKenzie in their Subaru Impreza. Luckily, this little clip of the tyres didn't slow Chris West and Keith Hounslow, who topped the times in D1 and run 3rd overall, really pushing on for championship points. Fighting hard against West, Andrew Kirkcaldy and Peter Carstairs take a bit too much speed up the ramp and have to execute this swift return to the circuit, dropping 12 seconds in the process. Leading the way in Class C, a championship pairing Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth, but they can't relax with Ross Hunter and Chris Lightfoot pushing them hard at the top of the times. Top of Class B, an exceptional 9th overall for Stephen Hay and Scott Smith in their Vauxhall Corsa, throwing it round with style. Rounding off the class are the leaders, Craig Aston with Matt Walker this weekend, and at this point, comfortable 22nd lead. Driving straight into Stage 4, Chris West and Keith Hounslow continue to pull away at the front, also consolidating 3rd overall in the championship. That gap opens up, in part due to Andrew Kirkcaldy and Peter Carstairs being held up by an ailing James Gibbs and Charlie Sayer Payne, who'd end up scoring the maximum time for this stage. Another pair of Scots, Tom Blackwood and Gordon Winning, were third after 4 stages in their Mark II Ford Escort. A strong day would come to a premature halt though with gearbox problems. Continuing the run of Mark II Escorts were Colin Gemmell and Derek Keir, executing a neat turn coming off the track and having to control some fishtailing up the hill. Enjoying a strong start to the season has been Mike Taylor and Martin Haggart in their Talbot Lotus Sunbeam, and the pair were 5th in Class D1 and 14th overall through the morning stages. Back to the Escorts, Scottish pairing Jamie McIntyre and Damien Greenall lost little time to the rest in D1 runners on stage 4, but they were just 2 seconds behind the Talbot after 4 stages. Seamus Morris and Denver Rafferty were taking things nice and easy in the Darien T90. A nice and neat turn by Barry Morris and Declan Campbell, who sling their Escort down the off-road sections. Trying to claw back some time after a stage maximum on the opening day were Kiro Carianti and Simon Coates in their Porsche Cayman, using the car's power around the circuit and pulling off this beautiful slide at the end of the stage. After 4 stages, Donnie McDonald and Sam Smith continued to lead the times in their Class D2 Mitsubishi. Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth lead Class C just 6 seconds ahead at the top of the times, heading into the lunch break. Continuing to push that little Corsa around with silly speed, and leading Class B is Stephen Hay and Scott Smith, now running 8th overall. A rapid stage time for Innes and Kirsty Mockery means they jump into the lead of Class A in their Rover Metro GTI. It wasn't the smoothest sailing for everyone, Steve Dolman and Lewis Griffiths having the misfortune of these 2 moments right in front of our cameras. They weren't the only ones though coming unstuck. Kathy Stewart and Colin Stevens with this slight error right at the end of the stage, leaving them stuck in the ditch and scoring a stage maximum. Graham Sherry and Shannon Turnbull were another pair to get stuck on the slippery grass. So co-driver and driver trying to get the tyre off, and also the marshals helping out there. But remember, Graham, don't forget your co-driver, mate. Poor Shannon getting some extra work on this stage.
So guys, you've registered for the championship again. It's really good to see you back out. Alton Park and Cadwell, we couldn't make it, but you're back here, you're fighting today, currently lying 2nd overall.
We're doing. It's going not too bad at all. You're right. We did miss the 2 first 2 rounds. That's just down to work commitments. But we're back, and hopefully we'll be back at Brands. I think that's the next one, eh?
Yeah.
So we've entered that. So hopefully we can have another good run at it.
Yeah.
John Stone's missing for this weekend. He's got the cold, so that kind of helps us.
Yeah.
But I'd still like to see John here in the new car.
Yeah, I mean it is quite a car, but he's also dropped 2 rounds so far. So even playing field.
Well, we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah. And round the other side of the car, there's a fair bit of black that wasn't there earlier. What's the story behind that?
The first chicane on the circuit, we were going into it, and I thought I was going too slow, and that's what I said to Scott. I'm going far too slow here, so I let my foot off the brake and I ran into the chicane. So I'm afraid I ran out of talent.
Fortunately, we side on, so we didn't do too much damage. So.
Yeah. What's it like from your side of the Scott? Happy to be back out?
Oh, good. It's been August was our last event, so sitting 2nd overall after the first couple of stages is good. You know, we're on the pace, so that's the main thing.
Fab, we've got a fair few stages left to go, fingers crossed for you, and hopefully we'll be chatting to you on that podium at the finish. So guys, a little bit of drama. We've just seen you at the finish line and there was an actual fire underneath your car. Any ideas? What?
Appears to be a slack gearbox pipe and putting a few oil into the manifold. It's out now, hopefully we can fix it, but we'll see.
There's definitely drama. You had us both running, but Sean, you said that you weren't even entirely sure what was going on. There was somebody underneath your car with an extinguisher out.
I heard him putting the fire extinguisher off, and I said to Brian, I was like, what's he doing? So I jumped out, and then I could see the orange flames shining off the tarmac, so I was like, time to get out.
No, absolutely. And I mean, you guys, you've registered for the championship this year, haven't you?
Yeah.
You haven't been able to get to Alton Park or Cadwell so far, so you're going for it today. You need them championship points, don't you?
We'll go for it today, and hopefully we can do the rest of the rounds. When's the next one? January?
Yeah.
Yep, so hopefully January, maybe?
20 minutes.
You've got a month now over Christmas to get sorted, so hopefully whatever this is.
No more fires.
No more fires, yeah.
And probably I need a better navigator as well. So,
Need
fun.
a better driver.
Great work as always by Sam in the paddock. Thanks, Sam. For stages 5 and 6, the competitors will reverse the course and head the other way around Knockhill. Another 4-mile set of stages comprising of the off-road section and 2 tours around the circuit. Spinning the wheels off the line are Ross Hunter and Chris Lightfoot, who move into the lead of Class C with a good time on this stage in their Peugeot 205. Look how hard they're trying. Smoking Michelins for Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth, who despite dropping to second in class will be still happy taking maximum championship points. Hoping to catch Wells and Holdsworth are Ryan Connolly and Chris Allen in their Ford Puma, the championship rivals, with a fair bit of work to do to gain ground however. Jim Rintle and Ellen Stewart sit 4th at this stage of the day, keeping things neat and tidy in their Ford Fiesta. With them are David R. McLeod and Eamon Boyle with their eye-catching yellow Talbot Sunbeam. Getting very sideways with the power of the Escort in 6th place with Bruce Graham and Pete McCallum. On board with Steve Dolman and Lewis Griffiths in their Mazda MX-5s, you can see how tough it is for the competitors with little time to learn the different stage configurations. The duo avoiding drama just in time there to finish 7th in Class C. Army Motorsport pair Blair Thompson and Stephen Brown were just behind in 8th place. John Carroll and Calvin Woods were up next in Class C, looking lively in their Honda Civic. On board with 10th place runners Thomas Barlow and Ian Parker, illustrating how tricky the hillside section of the stage is at this point. And a big tank slapper for style points in front of the crowd as well. Another bright orange rally car, this time a Subaru in the hands of Hugh Steele and Campbell Jameson, was looking distinctive out on the course. The pair would sit 11th after 5 stages. Rounding off Class C runners after that earlier stage maximum were Kathy Stewart and Colin Stevens, trying hard to make up ground. Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish, meanwhile, were about to find out how rallying can really bite you.
3 left. Oh.
Thankfully, despite looking terrifying, both walked away without injury and both are speaking to Sam.
Yeah, it just happened really quickly, so we just clipped a tyre on the left-hand side, went up on 2 wheels, and then it just went over, but I don't think either of us realised how many times we'd been over until we saw the footage. We're both absolutely fine, so we just got straight out the car. Unfortunately, as you said, there is quite a lot of damage, but we're both absolutely fine. We're still hoping to get back out for Brands Hatch for the next round of the championship, so I think we've got about 6 weeks. It depends really once we get the car back and see what the damage is, but I think it's actually hopefully not as bad as it looks, and mostly just cosmetic and panel damage. So if that's the case, the cage and everything seems to be fine, then hopefully we should be back out for the next round.
Well, fingers crossed, and we'll hopefully see you there.
Thanks, Sam, and it's fantastic to hear both are okay. Back on track, Chris West and Keith Hounslow continue to lead in Class D1, though Donnie McDonald and Sam Smith remain the pair to beat overall in their Class D2 Mitsubishi. Still setting the pace in Class B are Stephen Hay and Scott Smith, who now enjoy a 22-second lead, running 8th overall. Opening up a slight lead of 5 seconds in Class A are Innes and Kirsty Mockery.
So you are joining us at Knockhill here today. I am sat here with Clerk of the Course, Colin Harkness, which is going to tell us just a little bit about what he does. So Colin, tell us about your role. What is it that you do here?
As clerk of the course, I suppose on the day I take most control over what's happening. The running of the event during the day isn't really possible without a good team around me. And I make any of the decisions of judicial and trying to keep the timing running. And yeah, it's probably one of the key roles, but without the team around me, it can't really happen. Most of my work's been done prior to this. I have a team of people that go through the stages just to ensure that everything's safe for them, and then they'll give what they class as an amber status on the stages. Then I will give the green light to make sure that it goes ahead. Making sure, constantly listening during the stages to make sure that the radio calls are everything's safe. If there's an incident in the stages, I need to make sure that I stop the stage and just take control of any situations like that. Also, during the day, I keep control of the timing of the rally to make sure that we're trying to keep on the schedule, keep an eye on the results as they're coming in, and then if there's any people, I don't know, cheating, taking wrong routes, there's penalties that can be applied for that. And it's just making sure that we're having a fair, equal rally for all the competitors out there, and everyone's enjoying themselves.
What is the best part of your job? What keeps you in this role and keeps you coming back?
I like putting my bit in. I still co-drive, and for me is putting my wee bit of motorsport enthusiasm back to so that other people can enjoy it.
Thanks, Sam. Great insight into the other roles people can take out in rallying, volunteers really making it possible for us. On track for Stage 6, Stephen Hay and Scott Smith continue to set rapid times despite this moment getting stuck behind Kyle and Gordon Adam. A massive sideways moment there for James Leckie and David Kerr as they press on in their Peugeot 106. Third place after 6 stages were Kyle and Gordon Adam in their Ford Escort, a good stage helping them escape the clutches of Paul Sheard and Bruce Lindsay, who get a wee bit sideways down the hill. David McIntyre and Matthew Osinski were next up in their Vauxhall Nova, followed by a rather sideways Jude McDonald and Michael Cruikshank. As the rain begins to fall, Graham Sherry and Shannon Turnbull are keeping things on track after their earlier excursion. Shona Hale and Cameron Dunn round off Class B runners in 8th position. Chris West and Keith Hounslow lead by half a minute in Class D1, running 3rd overall. They're flat out. While there's a change at the top of the times overall as John Marshall and Scott Crawford go fastest, they're still on it. Opening a gap up in Class C, Ross Hunter and Chris Lightfoot top the times. Ines and Kirsty Mockery's advantage in Class A also extends. One of circuit rallying's most unique challenges is battling traffic on stage. Steve Dolman and Lewis Griffiths doing well here as one of the escorts wants to get past. Let's join Sam back in the paddock.
So guys, you had a really, really good finish here last year. You were 3rd overall. You're currently lying in 4th. Are we going for a podium again this year?
Well, that would be really good, especially when the rain's just come on as well. I was faster at the beginning of the day, but as it started to dry up, some of the drivers perform a bit better in the dry. So now that the rain's come on, getting into the last 4 stages, which 2 stages will be in the dark, should be interesting.
So James, new car for you this year, but what happened earlier on?
Oh, we had some poor steering issues and a bit of a misfire, but we're going okay now. Yeah. It's really just a test today, see whether they're like a Mark II or not.
Yeah.
But we're just here to join in with the fun with Taylor. Know that we're going to get close to him today, but...
What is the rivalry like there?
It's damage dependent. The rivalry's good and we get on fantastic. When you look at the damage in every single second panel, then it starts to get a bit of rivalry.
What is it like out there in general? I mean, because this circuit is quite a lot different to the other circuits that the Championship visits.
The circuit's really good. Obviously, last year was my first time here. I love the circuit, but last year it's fast flowing. You know, a lot of high-speed corners. It's a shame that they've put all the sandbags on the sort of racing line because it's a bit that's the bit that's fun. But they've done it obviously to stay off the grass, and I can see it stops the forward drives cutting, so it's good for me.
Keith, from your side of the car then, how are you finding it? I mean, I do believe there was instructions this morning that you had to take it a little bit steady.
Yeah.
I said I'd believe it when I saw it.
That didn't last long, maybe a sage, and that was about it really. But yeah, this is the most slippery circuit of the whole series really. So get back to Brands and Snetterton and we'll be more at home, I think.
So you're just joining us for the end of stage 6. As you can see, the weather has started to turn a little bit now. It has already been slippy out there for the whole day, so this is going to make things interesting.
Nice work, Sam. Looks freezing out there. Stages 7 and 8 make use of the full Knockhill circuit, as well as the tight and twisty start up and down the hillside. With the weather turning, will that change the order up? I'm probably thinking it is going to. Leading Class A are Inez and Kirsty Mockery, but a fantastic time for Craig Aston and Matt Walk means the gap is down to 3 seconds, probably why the Rover duo here make a slight error, losing time to Johnny McKay and Megan O'Kane as they slip past. And there go Aston and Walk in their Toyota Yaris. In third place, just 19 seconds off the leader, James Strachan and Kathy Shergold, keeping the pressure on but making a little mistake. Ron Walker and Amy Cubbin doing well to catch this slide in the Jaffa Ford KA. They run 4th and just 8 seconds behind the Peugeot ahead. Rounding off the Class A runners are McKay and O'Kane and their Nissan Micra 7 seconds back. Not holding back though this man, Chris West, flat out with Keith Hounslow as they climb to 2nd overall and remain almost 30 seconds ahead of Kirkcaldy and Carstairs in Class D1. Back on board with overall and Class D2 leader John Marshall and Scott Crawford as they navigate through tricky conditions in the downpour. Stephen Hay and Scott Smith continue to lead the way in Class B in their Vauxhall Corsa, while Ross Hunter and Chris Lightfoot similarly looking unassailable in Class C. Oh, there was drama for early leaders Dominic McDonald and Sam Smith, who spun and had to crawl back off the slick grass as rain caught out a number of competitors. On board with Kathy Stewart and Colin Stevens, showing how tricky things are out there. There are no points for drifting in the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship, but Ross McFadzine and Andrew Blackwood would score well with this effort. Tricky conditions into setting sun and slower cars around. Steve Dolman and Lewis Griffiths navigate this moment really well. James Gibb and Charlie Sayer Payne get into grips with this Ford Escort. Show you can back it in, still come out a hero. On board with Thomas Barlow and Ian Parker, and you can see even now it's tricky on the tight and twisty sections up the hill. More sideways Escort action. Graham Bruce and Pete McCallum just hanging on in there for style points.
So, Ryan, you put some wets on. It's just been quite slippy out there. You go for style points in this. How is it going?
Stylish. Let's go in stylish. Car felt really, really good. Really, really good. But we've lost time and we've lost another place in class. So I'm annoyed about that. And I've been through the footage. I think I know where I lost it, but we need to get it back up. So I think championship-wise, we've lost positions to the locals, but championship-wise, I think we're 2nd or 3rd. So we'll take that. I want to keep it all the way to the end. We've got another 4 stages to go. 4 stages? 2 stages? 3 stages? Some stages to go. And so, yeah, with that, I want it to be there all the way to the end. So, yeah, let's keep it up. Let's keep it going.
Good job, Ryan knows what's going on there. Here's how the times look with just 3 stages left to run. Ines Mockery and Kirsty Mockery out front in the Rover Metro GTR, 3 seconds away from Craig Aston and Matt Walk in their Toyota Yaris SR. Class B looking tasty. Stephen Hay and Scott Smith out front in that Vauxhall Corsa, 29 seconds ahead of James Leckie and David Kerr in that beautiful Peugeot 106. Kyle Adam and Connor Adam in that Ford Escort Mark II, 1 minute 41 seconds behind, but on the podium. Class C is looking like this. Ross Hunter and Chris Lightfoot in that 205 Peugeot out front, 36 seconds ahead of Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth in the Ford Fiesta R2T. Class D1, Chris West and Keith Hounslow, Peugeot 306 Maxi kit car, always out front it seems. Andrew Kirkcaldy and Peter Carstairs holding on in that Ford Escort Mark II, 27 seconds behind. Class D2, and it's John Marshall and Scott Crawford in that Subaru Impreza STI, 10 seconds ahead of Donnie McDonald and Sam Smith in the Mitsubishi Evo 9. with the other Mitsubishi Evo 9 of Taylor Gibbs and Jay Nickel 19 seconds off the lead. With the bonfire well and truly going, as darkness falls, we've got 2 more stages to go before we know who the victors will be. As stage 8 gets underway, Chris West continues his impressive run in the damp conditions, suiting his Peugeot 306, but he's not running a full light bar on his bonnet and will have to rely on his headlights to light the way. Chris and co-driver Keith would finish the stage in 5 minutes and 39 seconds to take overall lead of the rally. Now chasing Chris and Keith for overall honours are John Marshall and Scott Crawford in the Beatson Subaru, having lost their narrow 1 second lead with a time 4 seconds slower than the mighty Peugeot. Going on board, you can see just how slippery the track is. Hunter and Lightfoot, meanwhile, were giving the 205 everything as they set a time 19 seconds faster than the second place Ford Fiesta of early class leader Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth. Class B leaders Stephen Hay and Scott Smith, though, in their little Corsa, they were throwing it round, wringing its net to set the fastest time of their class, but they'd be joined by James Leckie and David Kerr setting identical times in their 106. Chris Aston continued to wring the neck of his Toyota Yaris to overhaul the 3 seconds difference in Class A and went a blinding 22 seconds quicker than his rivals. Donnie McDonald and Sam Smith would not have the same luck, with Stage 8 being their last appearance of the rally. They would retire from 3rd place overall with transmission issues. Let's join Steve Dolman and Lewis Griffiths on board in their Mazda MX-5 for a driver's eye view of all the action. Looks pretty difficult out there, to be fair. Meanwhile, the sister car driven by Paul Sheard takes a bit of a detour down the escape road. Easy there, Paul. They didn't do that when I was driving it, lad. Ah, there he is. Joining Kathy Stewart in the Lotus Talbot Sunbeam around the off-road section proves just how tight and slippery the conditions are on the stage. Lots of understeer and oversteer through the whole of the stage. A point reinforced here by James Strachan. Oh, yours, mine. Oh, you nearly held it, mate. Good effort. So, the final 2 stages of the day will take place over 2.75 miles, and it'll be the shortest stages of the day, ensuring a blast to the finish with some very close battles throughout the field. The off-road section to start will be especially tricky with limited light, but then they'll have one final lap of the circuit before finishing up in the pit lane. At the start of stage 9, the lights are ablaze for Chris West as he looks to make it 2 wins out of 2 at Knockhill. He's certainly on it and sets a time 5 seconds faster than his nearest rival John Marshall, who's next out on stage. You can just see the water on the track surface that, combined with the darkness and the other cars, means these guys have to keep their wits about them out there. GT ace Andrew Kirkcaldy was flying in the Ford Escort. He'd set a scorching time to go fastest overall, showing a clean pair of heels to both Chris and John. And the demise of Donnie McDonald, he was going into 3rd place overall. Taylor Gibb and Jay Nickel continued to be a force to be reckoned with, going 4 seconds faster than Marshall and Crawford in stage 9 before the Subaru redressed the balance in stage 10. Rounding out the top 5 overall are Alan Smith and Craig MacGyver in their Mitsubishi Evo. James Leckie was on a hot one in more ways than one, with flames licking the underside of his Peugeot 106 before retiring from the rally. Back on board with our camera car driven by Kathy Stewart and co-driver Colin Stevens, and you can see how difficult it is later on in the stages. Kiro Kariantin sending one up the inside with a driving line that he could be in touring cars with. Go on, lad. On board with John Marshall now as he grapples with his car. Really difficult, can hardly see anything. Some drivers were able to hold on to some spectacular slides, whilst others weren't. Sounds good though. Taking the victory in Class A would be Craig Aston and Matt Walk in their Toyota Yaris. In Class B, Stephen Hay and Scott Smith were untouchable, finishing an outstanding 8th overall in the process. That plucky 2:05 of Ross Hunter also held on to take Class C honours by nearly 2 minutes. The plaudits have to go to Chris West and Keith Hounslow as they were given it their all on every stage, not only to take the win in D1 class but also to take the trophy for the overall victory. Unbelievable stuff.
So guys, an awesome result for you today. It was a bit touch and go at one point. Wasn't sure. You and Taylor have been having a really good battle.
Yeah, it was quite difficult for us. I mean, we've done our second rally now, and it was a bit of learning this morning. Very different to anything we've done before, anything I've done before. And it was icy and difficult against four-wheel drive cars. But then this afternoon it was great.
Yeah. And this circuit is known for being quite slippy as well, especially when you get up onto the top, onto the hard concrete bit. It is quite challenging, and we've had sleet as well. So.
Yeah, well, that's normal for Knockhill. You get all sorts of weather thrown at you, but no, it's very, very slippy up the top of the hill. The circuit was quite good for us, and my background circuit racing, so it's maybe a bit easier in that sense.
Fab, and what was it like from your side of the car? Have you enjoyed it? It's been a good day?
It was excellent, great day, smooth drive. It was not really big moments at all, so yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it.
So guys, you're joining us for the championship round 3. Great result for you.
It was a good result. I mean, we've not been in the car since July, and to jump in the car and get a result like this, I'd settled with top five this morning. We had a wee bit of bad luck in stage 7, was it? I mean, the heated screen failed and I couldn't see where it was going. So with the time that I lost from that, listen, rallying, if buts, and I mean, as you know, but listen, we finished second, and listen, I'm delighted with that.
Absolutely, it is awesome championship points for you all, and it has been quite tricky out there today. We've had all sorts going on, haven't we?
Yeah, I think we've had every season up here. We had frost this morning, and then we had a beautiful day, then a bit of snow, and back to rain. So we've had everything. And I mean, Chris and Alan, Andrew there. I mean, credit to these guys. They drove really well.
So guys, massive congratulations. You won here for your first time up here last year. You've gone and won again. I mean, how's it been? It's been a bit tricky today, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. I didn't think the car was going to hold out. We've had a few problems with it, as we do. But it is a development. But the engine and everything, and the way the car is, it's great. I love driving it. And once again, we managed to do it. I don't know quite how, but we have. And we weren't there at the beginning, and I thought if we could get top 4, really, we'd be doing well with the conditions this morning. But I was praying for rain, and it happened. And I normally can pull it out of the bag in the wet, and I have. So, yeah.
You have, and he was taking it steady, wasn't he, Keith?
He wants to start with, but once we got the sniff of a chance, we were off. There was no holding him back.
That was never going to happen. You were never going to be able to take it steady, I'm sorry. No. Well, massive congratulations. Are you back out at Brands next month?
Definitely, 100%. We're here to win a championship again. So.
Excellent. Well, you heard it. He's here to win again. Have a really good break over Christmas, guys, and we'll see you at Brands.
Thanks very much.
So confirmation of the final results of the cobblestone Knockhill stages, with Craig Aston and Mark Walk taking an impressive Class A victory, with Innes and Kirsty Mockery 38 seconds behind in second. Look how close 4th and 5th were. Stephen Hay and Scott Smith win convincingly in Class B. The gap is over 2 minutes to second place Kyle and Connor Adam in their Mark II Escort, and my old mate Paul Sheard in third in his Mazda. Ross Hunter and Chris Lightfoot win Class C in almost as convincing style as Stephen Hay won Class B, with a winning margin of 1 minute and 54 seconds over Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth. The gap is much closer in the D1 class, with Andrew Kirkcaldy closing in on overall winner Chris West in the final stages of the day. The gap was just 8 seconds, proving how hard they were pushing on. In joint third was the Ford Escort of Barry Morris and the Talbot Sunbeam of Mike Taylor. John Marshall and Scott Crawford take the honours in Class D2 by 14 seconds from Taylor Gibbs and Jane Nichol. But you've got to wonder how it would have been if Donnie McDonald hadn't retired his Mitsubishi. In the Michelin Cup, Chris West extends his lead over second place Mike Taylor by 5 points to go 14 points clear at the top, with Ryan Connolly jumping up the order to third, with Richard Wells also climbing into fourth. In the overall championship, we once again find Chris West in first place, with Martin Haggett in second place as the highest ranked co-driver, in front of his teammate Mike Taylor. Chris West's co-driver Calvin Holdsworth is in fifth. Well, that's it for Knockhill. We'll be back in the new year with round 4 from Brands Hatch, so we'll see you then.